Hello and welcome to the Becoming Show. Today is episode 21, and I'm so glad and so grateful that my friend, my longtime friend, we haven't seen each other for 15 years, Eva Love, she has helped thousands of people find the true love of their life. And here's the thing, in 1989, Eva went through a painful divorce that could have broken her, but instead it became a beginning of a profound spiritual awakening. And she found a secret. She developed a series of practices that transformed her life so deeply that her friends all ask, "What happened to you? I want a piece of that." So, you know what? She said she has been sharing all of that practice and the principle she teaches and has helped thousands of people find love. And today we're going to dive into those secrets behind lasting love, emotional intimacy, and relationships that don't just survive, but they truly come alive. Eva, I'm so grateful to have you today.
Oh, it's so great to be with you, Quinn. I'm just so excited that we got reconnected and to see you and be with you. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
You know what? I knew that you were helping people find the true love of their life, but I didn't know that you helped that many people. And I mean, that shows a lot, especially with your rate of success. What it's like 89% of all your clients find their true love. That's quite amazing. And
Yes.
of course, it started with you finding your true love after your divorce, and now you've been married for like 31 years with Will, which I have met. We're a lovely man. But can you please take us back to how did you do that? Before we go into other people, let's talk about you. Like, how did you find
Well,
all these inner?
one of the things is that um, healing your own inner wounds is in order to have a healthy marriage, it takes two healthy people. And whenever you have people that are wounded, who have, traumas from their childhoods, from their, uh, you know, from their life, doesn't have to be their childhood, but could be their adulthood too. Because some of my traumas were from my adulthood for sure. And so you have to get over those. You have to work through those. And so one of the things was, excuse me, here there. One of those things was to really work through those and to um, become healthy myself.
Hmm.
And then, and part of the tools that I was telling you about are those tools to help myself heal within. And then I use the tools for attracting my mate. And that's what's really exciting. And that's, of course, what I share besides the healing, self
Okay.
healing, is the how to attract a healthy mate.
Right.
Because if you keep attracting the addict, which what's what I kept doing, and you'll just keep going, you'll just keep having the same experience.
Hmm.
So, to be able to attract that healthy man and then to know what to do with them once you get it. Because a lot of women can attract a good man, but then she doesn't realize he's a good man. She doesn't know, like I remember I was working with one woman and she just attracted this prince of a man. And I said to her, "Julie, you have this great man. He's amazing." And she was like, "Really? He is?" Because she was not used to having a healthy man.
Oh.
And she'd had some doozies. And I had worked with her through some of those relationships, and she didn't recognize him.
Hmm.
And so I worked with her to learn how to recognize
Hmm.
what a healthy man looked like.
Okay.
And and then they've been together now, I don't know, 22 years, I believe.
Wow.
And and in love and having a great time together. And she knows how to keep that love alive, and he does too.
Mhm.
They both do, because there's a way that women kill a relationship and they don't even know they're killing it.
Right.
And men do too. I'm not just saying it's women, but most of my clients are women. And
Yes.
so, I'm working with, now, not all of them. I mean, I do have about 25% of my clients are men, but 75% are women.
Mm.
And so I teach them how to keep that love going, how to keep the sparks flying, how to keep the chemistry alive, how to be juicy at, I've helped women in their 80s get married, find the love of their life and have a happy, love life, sex life,
Oh, really?
really, it doesn't have to go away. I can tell you, you can keep things sizzling for a long time,
Okay.
and
Please do tell all, because I feel like that is quite amazing to go like I mean, it's easy to have all that chemistry when you first fall in love,
yes,
and that's so easy
and
because
see,
everything is fresh, everything is new.
right,
But to have all that
yeah.
after years of being together, that's quite amazing. Can we dive into the juicy part first?
Well, yeah, sure. Because you see, the psychologists, they all tell you, oh, that infatuation that dies because they don't know how to keep it alive. So they
Right.
just tell you to expect it. Just expect your life to just become, routine and ho hum. But why? Why would you let that fabulous infatuation and that, feeling the tingle? Like when my husband walks in the room, I get a little tingle in my tummy. I tell you.
Oh, that is so nice.
Why not? Why not? Why not? Why let it go?
Okay,
Why?
okay. So first of all, in order for you to have that butterfly feeling, like, does it mean that your husband have to do certain things, or at least have you trained him, or have you asked him how to love you, or does he automatically knows
No.
and can read
So
your mind?
this is the one thing women think that a man should just know. I've had women, they get mad at their husband because they just don't know how to love them. They don't know what they want for their birthday. They don't know how to make love to them. Well, how would they know? All they know is what the last woman taught them. That's all they know. So if a man is making love to you, it's probably the way he made love to the last woman and what she taught him, if she taught him anything. And a lot of the ways women teach is by being mad at them for what they do. So it's not a very good way to teach, So, but there are ways to show a man how to make love to you that's fun and makes it delightful in the bedroom. And there's ways to make a man want to load the dishwasher. There's ways to make the man want to give you whatever you want.
Wow. Okay, okay. So you know what? I would love to take us from the highest, the top, how to keep the love alive and juicy. And then we're gonna go through a bunch of other problems. Okay. So we're gonna get serious later on. But let's start with how you do that.
Okay.
How to keep a love juicy and alive.
Okay. So men love to win. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
You just don't, why do men love sports? They love to win. And even if a man doesn't love sports, he still loves to win. It's just in his DNA. And he loves yum and he hates yuck.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're being yummy, he is going to just be lapping up whatever you're dishing out.
Okay.
Okay. But if you're being yucky, he is going to want to go away from you. Okay. So if you're being bitchy at home, if when he comes home, the first thing you do is start griping about what he didn't do before he left or yesterday, or you start, complaining about what your day was like, or, you just are, in a foul mood, then he's going to want to get away from you. He's going to tiptoe away. He's not going to want to engage because it's, like, you want to grab some thorns? No. And a man doesn't either. And, like when a woman says, we need to talk. Well, that guy doesn't want to talk because he knows he's going to get chewed out. He knows that, this is not going to be fun. A man wants to have fun. He gravitates toward fun.
Yeah.
So when you make things fun, when you say, oh, honey, you know what I would just love? You have got his attention. Oh, what would you love, honey? Let me do that thing for you. Because that will, you know what, it would make me so happy. Now, if you're a bitchy woman and that's your normal state of mind, honey, you got some work to do on yourself.
Mm.
You got to find your joy inside, because a man can never make you happy.
Mm.
It's not his job. It's
Yeah.
your job. So
Right.
if you're pretending that it's somebody else's job to make you happy, if you think that your unhappiness is because of him, baby, you got it all wrong. It's
Mm.
not. It's you. Your job is to make yourself happy.
Mm.
And that's the truth. So we start from within.
Yeah.
We start working on ourselves. We say, okay, what makes me happy? And you start filling your own cup. Because if your cup is empty, you have nothing to share. You
Mm.
have nothing to give your children. You have nothing to give the world. You have nothing to give your husband.
Yeah.
And so, and you don't think that he's going to want to help fill your cup if your cup is empty? No. He'll want to fill your cup if your cup is more full. Now, if you're having a down day and you say, honey, I just really want you, I would just love it if you'd hold me because I've had a rough day. If you tell him that I've had a rough day and I would just really love for you to hold me, he'll come in there and he'll hold you because you would love for him to hold you. You
Mm.
see, because you told him what you want in a
Right.
way that he can fulfill that.
Yeah.
You set him up to win because he
Mm.
loves to win. Remember, he loves to win. So
Oh.
if you tell a man what he can do that will make you happy, he'll be beating down the door to do it. He'll want to make you happy. He'll want to do it.
That's
You
so
got,
good. You
you,
make it sound so easy and simple, and it is.
it is. You got to start with yourself first. You got to start with yourself first. It's got to be you starting inside and
Okay.
then bringing that to the, and that, like I said, doesn't mean that you don't have a bad day. Doesn't mean that you don't, get pissed off sometimes. Doesn't mean you're not human. Doesn't mean that things don't go wrong at work or the car doesn't have a flat tire. Doesn't mean any of that. Doesn't mean that life doesn't happen, but it doesn't mean that you're bitching and griping about everything and you're always mad at him, because
Yeah.
that's the way a lot of women are. They're just always mad at their husbands no matter what happens. It's always his fault. And he is going to stay as far away from you as he can.
Okay, got it. Got it. Loud and clear.
He's just going to, women complain about their husbands being couch potatoes. Well, I can tell you why they are. Because they just want to curl up in a ball, watch TV, and not engage
Mm.
because it's too painful.
Mm.
Now, he could also be traumatized, not just from you, but maybe from his mother, maybe from his childhood, maybe from his ex-wife.
Mm.
He needs to be trained. He needs to be educated on how to, like he needs to see this in action. He needs to see this loving, fun part of you come out so that he can participate and see how fun it is.
Yeah.
And one of the things that when my husband and I used to teach classes, and when we would say, men, when you get on the E train with your woman doing this, it's going to be a ride, man, and you're going to have fun. And the men would go, okay, because it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. But if we get in the car and see, the thing is, women need attention.
Mm.
Our job, our desire, men need to win. Women need attention.
Mm.
So women get attention in the worst way, because that's sometimes the only way they can get it. And so instead of getting it the worst way by starting an argument, because a lot of times women will just start an argument to get attention.
I see.
Because they need attention, and he's sitting in front of the television watching a ball game or doing whatever he's doing. He's out in the garage working on the car. And so we go pick a fight so we can get some attention. Now, we don't consciously know that's what we're doing, but that's our desire, is to get some attention. And we're going to do it no matter what. One of the things I say is a woman will shoot a hole in the bottom of the boat if she can't get enough attention. Just to get attention. But so he's out there in the garage because he's not winning. He's not winning. If he was winning, he'd be in there with you. And men will go, they will go get their yum wherever the yum is. Now, if they're winning with their car, they'll go with their car. If they're winning at work, they'll stay at work. If they're winning with some other woman, they'll stay with the woman. Women who know how to keep their man happy and they're juicy, they don't ever have to worry about their husband cheating, because they won't go anywhere else. They'll stay home and be with their wife because it's so fun, because they're winning. But if he's not winning at home, you're inviting him to look elsewhere. And now, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not giving men a pass for that. That's obviously wrong. But I'm just saying, we've got to keep our boy, this hair's sometimes. Anyway, so we've got to keep this juice. We got to keep this relationship juicy. And women are the ones that do it.
Okay.
Women keep it juicy.
So can you give an example of how we can ask it in a way that like you did give a couple of examples already. Can you give some more? Yeah.
Sure. When you want something, the best thing to do is to just tell him what you want.
Okay.
And do it in a way that's fun. Don't ever ask for what you want when you feel bitchy.
Okay.
If you're in the middle of your period and you are feeling grumpy and bitchy, or you just don't ask. Just wait. Just wait till you're having fun.
Okay.
Wait till you have a smile on your face, and wait till till you're in a good mood. Because when you ask, when you're having fun and when you're in a good mood, then the energy that you ask with is the energy that he uses to complete the task with. So if you say, "Oh, I would just love it if you, fix that screen door. It's just been driving me crazy. It squeaks every time it shuts. I would just love that. It made me so happy." So, you're letting him know that there's a reward at the end. It would make me happy. So in other words, he knows if he fixes a screen door, he's going to have a happy wife. What man doesn't want a happy wife? The greatest win that a man can have is to have a happy wife. Because to men, it's not easy to have a happy wife. They're trying so hard to have a happy wife. And when I work with men who are in the middle of a divorce, here's the thing I hear the most. There was just no making that woman happy. There was just no making that woman happy. So if your husband he cannot see that what he's doing is making you happy, if you don't let him know that what he's doing is putting a smile on your face, and I don't mean that you go, "Thank you." I mean a smile, like you really appreciate it. Like, men are very visual, and they need to see you light up. So one of the things that, when Will comes into the room, I light up. I'm so happy to see him.
You know what? Since you already dive into the worst case scenario, which is the divorce, can we actually go there? So when couples are considering a divorce, or at least they are in the middle of it, or thinking about it, what kind of advice do you give them?
Well, first thing I do is I meet with a couple to see if they're willing to work.
Mm.
If they have, if both parties are willing to work on the relationship, then I'll take them on and I'll
Mm.
work with them.
Right.
I've saved a lot of marriages, a
Yeah.
lot, because they just don't know what to do. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how, you know, they've they're they've been wounding each other, and each wound gets a scab on it, and then a wall goes up.
Mm.
And then another wall goes up, and then another wall goes, a bigger wall goes up, and pretty soon the walls are so big that they're not even talking to each other, or if they are, it's just chit chat. They're not really communicating. There's no intimacy,
Yeah.
because intimacy is into me see. So you're not letting them in at all,
Okay.
because it's too dangerous. He throws, you told him something in confidence, and then next fight he throws it in your face, and you do the same thing. He has some little thing, and then you throw it in his face, and pretty soon you're not sharing anything. You're no longer talking, really communicating.
Actually, you know what? You just point out something so important. Because when you said intimacy, I immediately thought of sex. I didn't think that intimacy was sharing what is most vulnerable.
That's
So
right.
so people could be having sex, but no intimacy.
No intimacy.
Ah, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
getting naked is not intimate.
Okay. Okay.
A lot of people are having sex, but there's no intimacy going on.
Oh wow. Okay. In that case, how do they
There's
get
a lot of women with their eyes open looking at the ceiling while their husband is, doing his thing. They're
yeah.
not interested. They're nothing. There's nothing going on there for them,
Mm,
because he doesn't know what he's doing for them. And he's really not interested in them. He's just interested in himself,
mm,
because he's given up trying to help her, because she never gave him any instruction or helped him understand what to do.
mm.
And
So,
that's something you've got to do. You've got to when you're helping your husband or a new lover, you have to guide them gently, with your moans and your groans and your oohs and your ahs. You've got to let them know what you like. So when they do something that you like, you got to go, oh, I feel so good. Oh God, do that again. You know, and, and when they do something you don't like, you got to go, oh no, this is a little bit more, a little more to the left, a little more to the right, whatever. You got to let them know, because they don't know.
okay. Yes.
Okay. And if they do something that you don't like, oh no, not that.
Mm,
You got to
yeah.
let them know.
Right.
And I always, when we do our class, I always told the couples, have the sex talk. Sit
Mm.
down and talk about sex, and actually talk to each other and tell each other what you like and what you don't like.
Wait. Do you do that like outside of sex time or
Yes,
before? Like,
outside of
oh,
sex time, just sit down across from each other and
okay.
say, honey, what I love? What really turns me on? What really turns me on is when you go shopping with me in the afternoon and we hold hands in the mall. That
Mm,
just turns me on so much.
mm,
And then, when we get home and after dinner, we're in the kitchen and you're drying the dishes and we're smooching, catching little kisses. That's just really gets me ready.
mm.
Like, you got to tell a guy that, like, he can turn on like that, right? But women are not like that. We take time to rev our motors, right?
Yeah.
We don't just turn on in a second.
Yeah.
Like, so you tell them how to do this. And you say, and I just love it when, like, take a feather and just, take it across my body, and it just, gives me chills all over, and, just like tell them what you want,
Mm. Okay.
caress my body, like do, whatever. just whatever you like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Will and I took a tantra class, right? Like with like 6 months into our relationship, and you know, into living together, and it was fabulous. We had so much fun,
Mm-hmm.
and we learned a lot about each other, and we learned a lot about different things in sex that I'd never heard of. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'd say take a tantra class or do something like that. You know, get a
Mm-hmm.
book. I don't know, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you're really having trouble, maybe go to a sex therapist. But do something to make your sex fun.
Mm.
Don't make it a chore, because for a lot of women, sex is a chore, and that's not fun. It
Right.
needs to be fun,
Yeah.
because you know, men wonder why women don't want it. They don't want to have. I'll tell you what. If I always say this, if men made love to women the way they wanted to be made love to, they would never get out of the bedroom.
Well, yes, that's true because we can have multiple orgasm all day long.
We would never let them out of the bedroom. It's not that we don't want sex. We just don't want the way they give it to us.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got to make it fun. You got to laugh and play and have fun. And
Yeah.
this playfulness is a big part of keeping the chemistry alive.
Mm.
One of the things that Will and I do is we 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 started calling each other kitty right in the beginning of our relationship. We're both Leos. And so then we started meowing at each other. And that my adult children just thought we were absolutely nuts. You know, they were like, have you guys lost your minds? But it was fun. And
Right.
and it was, the whole thing was just fun. And people who have nicknames for each other, you know, little cute nicknames, is that's juicy.
Mm.
That's juicy.
Yeah.
You know, that that is a little thing that just is fun.
Mm.
Playfulness is a key part of keeping the the, the chemistry alive.
Okay. You
Finding
know, that's actually that's now that you break it down that clearly, and you even give like advice on what to say and what to do. That is so helpful.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the intimacy part? Because I think this part is a bit harder. Like, how do you request or how do you attain it to intimacy when one person is guarded?
Well, it's building trust.
Okay.
You know, trust is not built in a day.
Mm.
It takes time to build trust. And when trust has been broken, like, you know, I've had couples where one has cheated on the other, you know, and they go, well, I guess you're never going to forgive me for this. Well, no, it's just the trust has been broken, and you're going to have to rebuild the trust, and it's going to take time. You're going
Mm.
to have to prove that you can be trusted again,
Hmm.
and that's not going to just come in a minute. So don't think that just like that she's going to or he's going to, you know, trust you again. And that's the way it is with trust. And intimacy is built on trust. Love is built on trust. Really, you can't have love without trust.
Mm.
And if you don't trust, you really don't love, because you can't have intimacy without trust.
Mm. Then what about all those couples that have one person that is really jealous, like very um, clingy, and don't want their spouse to
I would say
feel
that's attachment, not love.
okay. So that means they're just afraid of losing that person.
Yeah, that's really an attachment disorder. That's not really love. That love, you feel confident. Like, one of the things is my husband is, well, you know, he's very charismatic. Women love my husband,
Mm.
and he is very flirty, and women love to flirt with him. And I'm perfectly comfortable with that, because I know I have his heart. I
Mm.
know he would never cheat on me. I'm very confident in that. And I
Mm.
also know that he's got a great relationship, and that he's winning at home. So
Mm.
I don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I'm very confident. So I don't have any jealousy
Mm-hmm.
because that I'm confident in our love and our relationship. So one of the things that when you have somebody that's clingy is they're not confident in their relationship. They don't trust.
Mm-hmm.
But that trust could be from that trust is probably a trauma issue
Mm-hmm.
that needs to be healed. And that is not really love that they're in. They're probably in an attachment disorder, is what I would call it. Because that extreme jealousy, my first husband had that. He was unbelievably uh, jealous of everything, and to the point where at one point in our marriage, he would lock me in the house before when you left for work.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sick,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know it at the time. He was also an alcoholic, so when you're dealing with an addict, that's one of the things that I tell people is when you're dealing with an addict, any kind of an addict, whether it's, sex addict, drug addict, alcoholic, gambling, whatever kind of addiction they have, you're not dealing with the person. It's like when somebody has a personality disorder or a narcissist or some kind of mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really dealing with that person. You're dealing with that disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't really know the person because you're not dealing with that person. So you really can't have a healthy relationship with an unhealthy person. They have to get sober for
Okay.
you to have a relationship with them. Now, there are relationships where the person gets healthy, where they get sober.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying, you have to divorce your husband or your wife if they're not sober or they're not, they've got an addiction. I'm saying they can get sober, but
Mm-hmm.
they have to do it for you to be able to have a healthy marriage.
Right. And I think, well, let's go even deeper into problems in a marriage. So addictions, we have to get the person healthy again in order to have a good relationship. Because if the person is not healthy, there's no way you can have a good relationship.
No.
Point taken. What about you know how some people, especially women,
I mean, you can have a relationship, but it won't be a healthy relationship.
yes,
Because it
right,
takes two healthy people to have a healthy relationship.
right. But then why is it that some people, and especially women, more women than men, stay in relationship that is abusive, that is non-healthy, but
Fear.
they can't leave?
They're afraid. They're afraid to leave. They're afraid. For one thing, when a man is abusive, he's telling her nobody else will love you. Nobody else would put up with your shit. Nobody else would, you know. And so they're beating her down. That's what my first husband did to me. He
Mm,
had me believing that I was the lowest of the low and that I was lucky to have him.
mm,
Well, of course, when I got away from him, there was men all over the place ready to date me and, marry me. But, he had me believe that I was just, nothing.
mm,
And so that's one thing. And another thing is they often don't financially, they can't take care of themselves. And I had I had two children actually by the time I divorced him, I had a second child. And so, you've got babies, you've got children. And as we know, women only make 77 cents for a man's dollar.
mm,
And we typically, it's difficult for a single mom. I did it. I was a single mom, put myself through school, and was able to then work my way up the corporate ladder. But it was not easy. It
mm,
was it was challenging, and I feel like my children suffered from me having to work so much.
mm.
But it was I didn't ever want to be in that position again where I would be beholden to a man.
Mm.
Where I felt like I couldn't leave if I wanted to leave. So a lot of it is financial. A lot of it is psychological. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, but it is heartbreaking to see a woman who's being abused stay in a relationship. I have had clients who I have said to them, this is dangerous for you to be in this relationship.
Mm.
You need to leave, because I believe that he would kill you.
Mm.
And I've had that happen. I've had clients who have been killed by one by a boyfriend, one by a husband.
Wow.
Yeah. And I begged her to leave him, but you can only do so much.
Wow.
I can't go and drag her out.
Mm.
But yeah, it's heartbreaking. But you have to realize that she has her own demons to deal with, and her own wounds and her own issues. So, I worked with her as much as I could. I could. I could. When you're working with somebody, you can only go as deep with them as they'll let you.
Mm.
So that's that's an issue. You can only go as much as they will let you in.
Right. Yeah. So then, on a lighter note, when people have lost trust, for example, cheating or lying or something, how do you rebuild trust?
By keeping your word, by doing what you say you're going to do, by showing up, by yeah, by being present. Um, I can think of situations where, like a husband is, you know, taking off, going on golf weekends when really he's going out, to meet his mistress. So instead of being gone, he's staying home and being with his family and taking his kids to Little League and doing those things, um, being home, being with his family, um, keeping his commitments, being on time for dinner, doing the things that he should have been doing all along, instead of always being late, always putting his family second, always, everything else was more important. Because when a woman feels like the she's his sec is not his first, is not, it doesn't come number one, she gets mad. She may not realize that's why she's mad, but she's angry, and she will get him in every way she can. She will zing him. She will put him down in front of her family, in front of his friends. She will just do whatever she can to beat him down because she's so angry.
Mm.
And he doesn't know why. And she doesn't even know why.
Mm.
But I've seen it over and over again.
Okay.
Of course, that kind of relationship where he's putting her second, where everything else is more important, where he's late for her, he's late for the kids, he doesn't put them first. Because if a man doesn't put his wife first and a woman doesn't put her husband first, that relationship is going to end up having major problems.
You know what? Now that you mentioned that, there's two other relationships that are super important in our lives: children and
Yes.
parents.
Uh-huh.
So, between the wife, the kids, and the parents, give me some, how do you call that? Uh, how do you handle who
Okay.
is most important?
Okay. So most of the time, what happens when a woman has a child, the child becomes the most important.
Mm.
And the husband feels it, like crazy.
Mm.
And, in those beginning years, she does have to give that child a lot more attention than she does her husband, because the child needs it, she or he needs it. But the wife needs to make sure. See, I always say this. Here's the husband and the wife. And in the house is the children. Okay. So if this structure isn't strong, the kids will not have a stable place to be.
Right.
Okay. So it always has to be the husband and the wife first. A husband and a wife leave their family to come together. So the husband and the wife have to come first before the family, before their mothers and fathers.
Mm.
Now, that doesn't mean they leave them out. It doesn't mean they abandon them, but there's room enough for everybody to love. But the husband and the wife has to come first.
Mm.
And then that love can extend out. And the parents of each family can, participate in gatherings and be a part of their, I'm a part of my daughter and her husband's, gatherings with they've got a son now. And, so we do those things. We're, together,
Mm.
but their relationship is one first, and
Right.
then their son. And then what they do is, like, for Christmas, they have their own little Christmas with their son. And then they come over, and when we have a big family Christmas.
Mm.
But they have their family, their little family is key for them. They keep that sacred.
Mm.
And I think that's really fabulous for them to do that.
Got it.
Very smart for them.
Yes. Well, that is if the boundaries are healthy. Because I actually have a friend who got divorced, and initially she was attracted to her husband because he loves his mom, and he takes care of his mom, and that's a great sign. In fact, I also love my husband for that. And I think that's such a wonderful thing that a son takes care of his mom and love her so much. But then it became a problem when the mother disliked the daughter-in-law, and the mother try to separate them and try to basically harm the relationship and try to split them up. So that's why eventually they got divorced. But in this case, the husband or her ex definitely is a good guy, but he didn't know how to set boundaries, and he didn't know how to protect his wife.
Yeah.
And put her first.
Yeah.
And in this case, he put his mom first.
Yeah. Well, when Will and I got ready to get married and we announced it to his parents, his mother threw a fit.
Mm.
She did not want him to marry me.
Oh.
He didn't want him to marry anybody. He was, and I was like, okay, I was like, okay, maybe we need to call this wedding off. I mean, really,
Wow.
because I know what that can cause.
Mm.
And I said, Will, let's talk about this, because this could be a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about this? And he said, I never listened to her when I lived at home. Why would I start listening to her now? And I said, okay, as long as we're clear here that this woman is not having any influence on you, because if she does, I'm going to bow out. Because I know what that looks like, and I'm not doing that.
Okay.
And as much as I love him, I would not, if he was going to hesitate because of her. Mm-mm.
Wow. So even if you loved him, and let's say you love him, and he wants to please both women, the two most important women in his life, his wife and his mom. How do you handle someone like that? In this case, Will is very strong and he has certain very healthy boundaries with his mom. But how do you help? Because if you're already in a relationship,
you have to talk to him about setting boundaries. And if he can't do it, then you can't risk your marriage. You can't risk marrying somebody and live a life of misery. I'm not willing to do that. I wanted my life to be full of fun, joy, and happiness. And I wasn't going to let this woman, she was kind of a witchy woman. I wasn't going to let her ruin my marriage.
You know what? You were so smart to see all of that. And you actually say that before you got married. What about when you're already in the relationship, got married, and now what do?
You have to sit down with your husband and have a real heart-to-heart talk and say, look, we got to have some boundaries here. This is not working. We've got to put our relationship first. I've got to be number one. I've got to always be number one. And you've got to always be number one with me. I can't ever let anybody come before you. And you can't, we made vows. I left my family to marry you, and you left your family to marry me.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it's in the Bible. If you have any of that, stuff going on in your family, you can say, hey, it's biblical.
Okay. And you know what? Because then that means there comes to be a decision. Because if he cannot put you first,
right,
then you might have to just decide to split.
Right. Because whether he's putting whatever he's putting first is, he can't do that. And you can't do that. You can't put your children first and put him second. You got to put your husband first. And that's a little hard for women. Women are, they're real maternal, and they like to put their kids first, and they leave their poor old husbands over here hanging in the wind, and that's not good for the marriage. And you wonder why your marriage isn't thriving. Because you're not putting your husband first.
Right.
You're not talking to him about things. You're not sharing things with him. You're not, like Will and I, we talk about everything. No matter what, we talk about everything. And if it's a difficult conversation, we still have it. A lot of people avoid difficult conversations.
Yes. How do you have a difficult conversation? Who starts, and how do you start?
Okay, so if we have a difficult conversation, we just sit down and we just say, okay, so this is something that I've been thinking about, and I want to talk to you about it and share how I feel. And I'd like for you to share with me how you feel. And what we do when we're having a difficult conversation is we try to come up with a solution that both of us will be happy with. That's our commitment to each other, is that we'll always try to come up with a solution that will work for both of us. That's our commitment to each other.
Do you actually say this before you have the conversation?
Well, we've already said it, like way back when, we've been married 31 years, right? So we've already said that. We already know that what we want. Matter of fact, we had a lawsuit that came up, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. And this woman was suing us for something, and it was really scary because she was a crazy woman. I mean, she was really off her rocker, and she was making all kinds of accusations about us, and they were not true. And we were like, really, oh my God. And we started getting in a fight about it. And I went, wait. Nothing's going to come between us. And this isn't either. And he says, that's right. That's right. We are in this together. And we're going to come out with a solution that's going to work for both of us. And that's the way we've always been. Nothing is going to come between us. Nothing. That's our commitment to each other. That's how we operate. So we sit down and we start. Matter of fact, I have a tool for it. It's called the WIN technique. And so it starts with, as you are bringing up the subject, you pay attention to what you watch. You watch how your mate responds. You're paying attention to their response, because if you see them getting upset, then you want to lower the temperature. And you might say something like, well, maybe we need to wait and talk about this when you feel more calm.
Mm.
So you don't ever want to have a conversation about something touchy if one of you is upset.
Mm.
If you're having a conversation and it starts becoming an argument, you want to take a timeout. You want to say, let's just take a timeout until we cool off.
Mm.
And let's come back together and set a time. Let's come back together so we can talk about this.
Will you actually set an appointment
Yeah.
to come back?
Yeah. Let's talk
Yeah.
about this in the morning. Usually in the evening is the worst time to discuss something before bed because you're tired, you're more likely to be cranky. You've worked all day, you've got, you know, all this going on. And so it's better to, in the light of the day. So, the next day, maybe you spend time at lunch or whenever time you can do it. Maybe you get together after work, whenever it is that you can do it, but you spend time. And then when you get done, when you get come together, you reaffirm that you want this to work for both of you. You want the solution that works for both of you. You want him to be happy and you want to be happy with the solution.
Yeah.
And then you start bouncing ideas off. You go, okay, so here's what I want. What do you want? What would this look like for you? How would you like to see this happen? And then he'll give a solution. And then you say, okay, well, here's what I'd like to see happen. How about if we did this so you could have what you want and do that so I could have what I want? How would that be? And then he'd say, well, how about if we did this and that? And so you'll just keep going back and forth until you come up with something where you'll both get what you want.
Mm.
And that's the way Will and I've always worked it out. So we both get what we want. Now, once in a while, it'll end up being where, you know what, I really don't care. I'll just give him what he wants because it doesn't really matter that much to me.
Mm.
I'll say, you know what, honey, let me just give you this one. And maybe you can give me the next one.
That's so good.
Actually, now that I think about it, it's not that really important to me. Like you really want to have sushi tonight, and I don't really care.
Yeah, you know what? Some things are like that, but some things are a lot more.
A lot of times,
difficult. So for example, both parents, if you have children, want what's best for the kids, but you might have different thoughts.
Yep.
Of how of the solution for the kids.
That's right.
For example, which school to go to, and how to raise them, or how to train them, and how to educate them.
Yeah.
How do you handle this?
You have to work it out. I mean, you just have to work it out. You have to say, okay, so how about if we try this and see how it works? You want him to have a public education. I want him to have a private education. So why don't we try the public education and see how it goes, see if it's as good. And if you don't think so, then we'll move him. Let's try these things. Let's see what works. Just like be willing to change, be willing to find solutions.
Okay.
You've got to be, here's the thing, you've got to get off of your high horse. You know what that means?
No, please.
Okay. So my mother used to say this to me when I was a little girl. She used to say, she used to call me Susie because my nickname was Susie. Susie, get off your high horse. And I never knew what that meant. I had children. And what it means is when you're on your high horse, it means you've got an opinion and you won't let it go. You're like, I'm stuck here and I'm not letting go. I'm on my high horse.
I see.
See?
Yeah.
You got to get off your high horse. You got to be willing to, you got another person here that you're committed to, and you got to be willing to flow. You got to be willing to give and take and find the solution that's going to work with you. Now, I'm not saying compromise because compromise means one person loses and the other person wins. And I don't believe in win-lose. I believe in win-win. I believe that both people have to win in order for a marriage to work.
Right.
Because if one person always wins and the other person always loses, the one that loses is going to leave or
Mm.
they're going to check out. You know that couch potato? That
Mm-hmm.
couch potato has lost. He
Mm-hmm.
has lost and lost and lost, and he's out. He
Mm.
may not be physically out, but emotionally, he's checked out.
Mm.
Or you'll see a woman who is just checked out. My mother was checked out completely. She was so depressed when I was a child. I don't even remember her hardly as a child. I don't remember until my dad died. And then this woman showed up, this beautiful, amazing woman showed up. But as long as he was alive, she was just a nothing.
Mm.
She was checked out. She didn't
You know
leave.
what? You just mentioned something that I thought was normal in relationship, the word compromise. But
Mm-mm,
you just break through that it's not
mm-mm,
good. It's not
mm-mm.
acceptable.
It's not, because what happens is one person will dominate. So what Will and I talk about is how a marriage is like 100%. There's 100% energy in the room, okay? And if one person takes up 80% of the energy, well, then there's only 20% left. And that's the way it was in my family. My dad took up 80% of the energy, and there was only 20% left, which meant there was no room for my mother. There's no room for her because then there was the kids. So where was their energy? So she was just out. And so the best marriages are where one partner is like 40% and the other partner is like 40%, and then there's like 20% between them so that they can move back and forth.
Oh, like a slinky.
So they're like moving, they're like fluid.
Ah,
See? So if one person is dominant all the time and they always get their way, then the other party will just check out.
okay. So you know what? That would be easy if two of the spouses, if two of them are somewhat equal. But in a lot of relationships, either one is more dominant than the other, like the 80-20, like your parents. In that case, how do you how what advice would you give the person who's a 20%, the smaller
They've
person?
got they've got to make they've got to set some boundaries. They've got to say, "Hey, this isn't working for me.
Oh.
This isn't working for me. I need some space here. I need my voice to be heard." See, I had no voice as a child. None. My dad said children are to be seen and not heard.
Hmm.
And when I would give my opinion, he'd say, "What do you know?
Hmm.
You don't know anything." So I had no voice. That's not a good way to grow up,
Hmm.
you know? And so as I grew into an adult, what I did was I overcompensated by making my voice be the only one. Like, damn it, this is the way it is, right?
Hmm.
Oh, that didn't work.
Hmm.
So I had to learn how to, modulate, how to be a partner.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to be a partner because a partner isn't dominating. A partner is a partner.
Hmm.
I didn't want a father.
Hmm.
I didn't want a daddy, and I didn't want to be a mother.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it would have been easy for me to be a mother to Will because he has a physical disability. But I told him right off the bat, I'm not your mother, and I'm not going to be your mother.
Hmm.
So figure it out. And he did. Like he was already taking care of himself. I knew I wasn't gonna, like I wasn't gonna be that. I wanted a partner, and he
Hmm.
did that, and he wanted a partner.
Beautiful.
But I could have easily done that, been a mama, and I didn't want a third child. A lot of women do that. A lot of women, they say, well, I've got 3 children, my 2 children and my husband. Well, why do you have that? Because you did it. You're the one that took it on. When you started picking up your husband's socks, that was on you, not him. You did that.
Mm.
You wanted him to pick up his own socks. You should have said, look, I don't mind doing this, but you got to pick up your socks and underwear and you know put them in the hamper. I'll do the laundry or whatever you're willing to do. Will and I divided up the the things, because he couldn't do the grocery shopping. I would do the grocery shopping, and he would do the cooking and the dishes, and I would vacuum. I would do the things I could do. He would do the things he could do. He took care of the finances. I took care of, so we just divided it up.
Mm. You know what, Eva? You make everything so simple.
Well,
you have a solution for everything, and it sounds so simple.
but you work it out. It takes work. You
Mm.
work it out. You decide what you want. You go, okay, so how do I want my relationship to be? Do I want it to be fun and have a good relationship and a strong relationship? Or do I want to be miserable for the rest of my life? Look, I was miserable. I had 2 marriages that were horrible. Horrible. And I thought I was never going to get married again. I had already said no more. And I was dating, and I would call them boyfriend light, because I would, as soon as they started talking about we're going to do so and so next week, I would go, no, we're having fun tonight. Let's just talk about tonight, because if we have fun tonight, we might have another date, but let's still plan on it.
Mm.
I don't want any commitments.
And you know what? Speaking of the, now that we go there, how do you help people who are single or divorced find the true love? What is it?
Again, it starts with being healthy.
Yeah.
And then it starts with realizing that the qualities that you want to live with, you start. See, like a lot of women, and men do this. They have their list, right? 6'3", 180 pounds, athletic, dark hair, blue eyes, no encumbrances, makes 100,000 a year at least, drives a Jaguar, right? They have all these superficial things on there.
Hmm.
Because all that can go away in a minute. He can lose his job, he can lose his hair, he can, be in a car accident and lose his body. All that can change in a minute. But what you want is to look at the qualities you want to live with.
Mm.
Is he kind? Is he funny? Is he interesting? Is he good conversationalist? Do you like talking with him? Will and I used to talk like into the night. We could talk all night. We just love talking to each other. And can you just sit and be with each other and not have to talk? Do you just enjoy being with each other?
Yeah.
And so you think about the things you want in your life. Like, what are the qualities that you want to live with? Like I wanted somebody that had faith, like not somebody that professed faith. I want somebody that had faith, because my second husband had, he had the church stuff going, but he had absolutely zero faith in anything. No faith. No faith in himself, no faith in God, no faith in anything. And that was not anything I was interested in. So what do you want to live with? That's what you start looking for. That's what you start noticing. And you notice it not just in guys that you want to date, but you notice it everywhere. So you start looking for it. You start noticing men. It doesn't matter if they're married or single or what. You just start noticing men that have those qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start noticing them, you start attracting them. Now you're not attracting married men. You're just noticing them. You're noticing those qualities. And when you put that energy out, pretty soon that starts coming to you.
Mm.
Okay. And because you're living that too, because you'll attract what you are. And so if you're kind and you're funny and you're interesting and you love good conversation and you know, like that. So, you can't be a dullard and never read a book and never, and be a terrible companion and be when you go to the restaurant, be crappy to the waitress and expect to get a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you start living what you want. And pretty soon that will come to you. And there's other things that I teach women about how to flirt, how to flirt and how to drop the hanky.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Oh, how to drop the hanky, the handkerchief?
Yeah, how to drop the hanky, like that's how it used to be done in the South. Women would drop the hanky. That meant because men will come, the women are the ones that pick.
Oh.
Men don't pick, women pick.
Oh.
I know it. Women have it all wrong. They think that men pick them. It's not.
That's what I thought too. Okay.
Women pick the man.
Okay.
Okay. So when I saw Will, I went, oh my God, who is that? I saw him and I was just like fascinated. Like that guy is so interesting. There was an energy coming off of him and I couldn't take my eyes off of him. And I'm sure he had to feel it because it was just like, and so that evening, we were later after it was a graduation and it was a class that I was taking, a business class, and he was there as a graduate and we were at dinner and he was sitting at a table and I was sitting at a table and he kept turning around and looking at me and I'd look up and I'd smile and then I'd turn back to my friends and he kept being embarrassed because I would catch him looking at me and I would smile. So I'm smiling at him. That's dropping the hanky.
Ah, okay.
Smiling. I'm going, hey, guy, come over here. And he did. He came over to the table when they got done. And he took my hand and I felt electricity go through my body. And he says, I never do this, but I'm wondering if he introduced himself. And he said, I'm wondering if you'd like to get to know me. We were in this whole conference. It was like 250 people at this conference. And he said, I wonder if you'd like to get to know me over the weekend. And I said, I'd love to. And so we did. We got to know each other over the weekend. And that was it. I mean,
wow, that is so cute. Okay. So women drop the hanky. You know what?
Women how to do that,
Okay.
There's all kinds of ways to do it. But women pick, men don't. Like, okay, so when I was teaching, when we used to teach classes, and when I told this story in class about, women dropping the hanky and women being the ones that pick, there was a really cute guy in the back of the class. And he said, it's really interesting because some buddies and I went to a club last night. This was on Sunday morning and on Saturday night, they'd gone out. And they said there was a lot of really beautiful women in the club, but not one of them were interesting. And that's because they weren't smiling. They weren't flirting. They weren't dropping the hanky. None of them.
I see.
They all had a puss on their face.
Okay. Okay, Okay, you know what, Eva? Like, okay, one more thing. I mean, we've got this conversation is so interesting, and it's been so beneficial. Thank you so much for sharing everything like this. Some women keep saying all the good men are taken. How do you say? What do you
Oh,
say
there
to that?
there's, you know, one of the things that women say to me is, there's just one man out there for me. And I just laugh at that. And I'm going, there's tons of men out there that could be your man.
Mm.
There's not one, there's tons of them. I say to women, men are like buses. There's one every 15 minutes.
Is that much?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When I opened myself up to dating, I'm telling you, I had a date as much as I wanted. I was dating like crazy. I was dating all the time.
Mm. You know what? I actually have a friend who who is looking, and after seeing a few men, and they just don't live up to her expectations, and she ended all the the getting to know each other. And she said, "You know what? It's so tiring to go out with men. It's not worth my time. So I'll just remain single." That's pretty much she had decided to do that for now.
Well, because she doesn't know what she's not. Yeah, she's going about it all the wrong way.
Ah. So how what
She's
is the right
she,
way?
well, she's got her list. I tell women, throw away your list,
Okay.
throw away that list,
Okay.
that superficial list,
Okay.
because that's what most women and that's what most men have. They have that
I
superficial
you
list.
know, in her defense, I don't think she has that superficialist.
Oh,
She
she
is looking
doesn't.
for qualities, but she's just
Okay.
not meeting the right man
Well,
yet.
that's because she's not identifying them. She's
Okay.
not identifying the men. She's not looking at that first.
Okay.
Like she needs to start practicing seeing it,
Okay.
and she needs to start living it herself
Okay.
energetically.
Hmm.
She needs to be in it. She needs to, if she wants somebody that's kind, she needs to be kind. If she wants somebody that is funny, she needs to have a good sense of humor. She doesn't necessarily have to be funny, but she needs to. I mean, I've got a great laugh. I think you remember how much I used to laugh. I still laugh, but when we were in class together, we
Yes. Well, you know what? Now that you say that, what about opposites attract? Like one person could be very funny, the other person is a listener. Like that is
well,
true too in a couple.
yes. Well, I'd say Will is way more funny than I am, but
Yes, that's
but I
true.
have a great sense of humor, and I
Yes.
laugh like crazy. I
Right.
love to laugh.
Yes.
So, that it's,
It works. Yes.
it works. And we do
Okay.
have different interests. It doesn't mean you have to have the same interests. Like Will loves sci-fi. I don't like it at all.
Mhm.
And he watches his sci-fi and I go read a book.
Yeah.
We don't have to have the same interests.
Yeah.
We do have some, we both like rom-coms, so we watch those together.
Yeah.
We do love Animal Planet stuff and we love, there's certain things we like together. We have our interests, but you don't have to have the same interests, all the
Yeah.
same interests.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what? I think you've dropped a lot of diamonds today, like golden nuggets. Thank you so much for that.
I'm so glad.
And I always ask my guest one question.
Yes.
And when you feel down, when shit hits the fan, or when you absolutely feel low, what do you do? What is your happy pill?
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Gratitude. That is the thing that I start my day with
Mm.
and I end my day with. And it's the thing that will get me out of a funk. Recently, just about a week ago, my dearest friend, that my oldest, not oldest in years, but longest, my longest friend
Mm.
passed away. suddenly. Like I talked to her the day before, and we were supposed to talk that day, and she just died.
Yeah.
Took just ugh, so hard. And it just like took the breath out of me, just knocked me, you know. And I was dumb. I was just stunned, and you know, and my family is used to seeing me happy. They're used to seeing me, you know, with a smile on my face, and not like that, not sad and crying, and and of course then they're all trying to make me happy. They're trying to lift my spirits. Well, that's not a good time to lift somebody's spirits when they're grieving.
Mm.
And I thought, okay, I wasn't pleased with that. It's like, let me grieve. And I thought, okay, let me grieve, but let me do it in my own way without putting it on them. So let me get back into my gratitude. And so I went inside, and I, look at my life and how grateful I am and how much I have to be grateful for. I mean, my gosh, I have so much to be grateful for. First of all, I'm alive. What a miracle. And I have my health, and I have my beautiful husband, and I have my children, and I have, beautiful friends, and I have my work that I love, and I have wonderful clients, and I have, a beautiful home, and I have so much. And I have my volunteer work that I do, and I have so much. I have such a rich life.
Yeah.
And so I could put a smile on my face and still have my grief, and I could grieve quietly, so that they didn't so it didn't upset them, because I didn't need to upset them. So yeah, gratitude will get me out of whatever. It will lift me up. It'll get me out of a funk. It will, if I'm sick, that's the first thing I do is get, go to gratitude.
That always works. That's for sure.
It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Eva, for this amazing talk. I learned so much.
I'm so
It's,
glad.
it's not just fun, but we went deep.
Yeah.
And then we went back to the light again. I mean, the lighter part. And everything you've shared has been so practical.
Yes.
That's the best part.
Well,
Like, it's not theoretical. It's very practical.
That's what I believe in. See, I I think I told you I did like 3 years of therapy before I got these tools. And all that therapy and all that money that I spent was just like, I felt like it was just wasted. It was just like nothing helped. And I felt like it was just so not practical. It didn't like give me tools. It didn't give me ways to actually fix things.
Yeah.
And so the one thing I committed to when I started working with clients was to always bring them practical solutions that would actually help them. And that's what I do, is bring them things that would actually help, that would make a difference.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
Yes. And thank you so much for sharing so many nuggets today.
Yes.
I really appreciate you.
If any of your listeners would like to work with me, I have space open.
Perfect. And I'm going to put your information in the description so they can get a hold of you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Eva, for being on this call. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much.